Much better, much better. Well, if you guys don't know, my name is Pastor Brandon, and I'm the boys pastor here at the Mount Pleasant campus, and I'm so glad that you guys are here with us today. Whether this is your 100th time or your first time with us, we're glad you're here. And we get to continue our community series, week 3, and I have the privilege and honor of bringing the word this morning. I wanted to talk about, we're gonna do a concept called 360 community. 360 community. Now, how many of you know your shapes? Raise your hand. Okay, all of you should raise your hand. What does 360 degrees make? Circle. You guys are geniuses, way smarter than I am. So it makes a circle. But if you take a piece away of a circle, is it a circle anymore? No, because part of it's broken. And so what we're gonna look at today is how in our lives, with our relationship with Jesus and others around us, we need to have 360 community with everyone around us. And if a piece of that is missing, then it's broken, and we need to figure out how to fill that piece. And so we're gonna look at 3 different areas in our lives, but an example of this is, how many of you are big sports people? Or at least love watching sports? Okay. It's football season, so literally Saturdays are for college football and Sundays are for NFL, so it's incredible. But I love watching it because when a player, say, scores a touchdown, whether he runs it in or the receiver gets it past him, what do? What happens? What does the teammates do? They go to celebrate with him. The guy's not in the end zone by himself, just kind of doing his touchdown dance like, sweet, nobody else is around me. Like, everyone rallies to him and is excited for him. And I thought about that saying, yeah, the team's excited, but when you're playing in a stadium, like, not only is your team excited, but the crowd is excited too. And the great thing about the crowd is it's not filled with just people that are your age, but it's also older generation. It's also a younger generation that's looking up to you. So there's this 360 approach within even just that moment of community within that. Everyone is celebrating together. And I love that. And so that's kind of an example. I wanted you guys to visualize what 360 community can look like within there. And if you're taking notes, there's 3 points. They're very easy to follow along, and it's mentors, close friends, and mentees. Those are the 3 things we're gonna break down and why they're important in your 360 community in your life. And so mentors are super vital in your life because these are the people that are a generation or 2 older than you. They have scars throughout life of, hey, this is what I had to do in these situations, and they can actually help you grow in those areas and say, hey, this is how I got through that situation. Here's what my encouragement to you is. And so we can actually learn from them. And so I'm gonna share a few of my mentors and why, to kind of get your idea of what mentors you have in your life. And the first one, you guys know, his name is Pastor Josh Ray. And so he's a mentor in my life. Fun fact that he was one of my small group leaders when I was a student. So it's kind of a funny full circle moment within there. We're both getting old and we realize that. But he's a decade older than me, and he's got a decade of ministry experience under his belt than I do, so I can learn from him. And not only that, both of our wives work in the medical field and work long hours, so we have to figure out, and I'm learning from him, how do you balance that with kids and ministry and all the things that life throws at you? How do you balance that? And I'm able to learn from him with that. He's a great example for me in that. And so that's why he's one of my ministry mentors. And I also have kind of a life mentor, and this is an elder at the church. His name is Joel. And I love Joel because Joel is absolutely no fluff. He can say, how are you doing? And I give him a generic answer, and he's like, no. Like, what's really going on? How are you really doing? He calls out of me and pulls out of me even when I don't want to be open about anything, and he's transparent with everything. And why I have him up there is because, 1, he calls me out on things, but then 2, he also has 4 kids that he's raised who have went through this ministry and actually are out living in the world and still living for their faith. And so for me as a young father, I want to look at that and say, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father and grow in my faith and allow my children to see that? And I love what it says in the book of Psalms, in Psalm 78, verse 4, it says, we will not hide from them their descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power and wonders he has done. I love that we will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord and his power and the wonders he has done. Like, That's the thing with mentors, is they can say, man, God did all these incredible things in my life. Like, I want them for you as well. And so therefore, I'm gonna tell you the steps I've had to take throughout life, all the bumps, all the detours I've had to take throughout life, so I can help you live a better one. That's what mentors are there for, to share those things so that we can learn from them. The next thing we have to have that is super vital in our lives is we have to have close friends. And I put this on the wings of the cross because you're gonna have more close friends than you will mentors and mentees. And so that's why the width of it is a little bit bigger. And so I love in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 11 and 12, it says, "Dear friends, I urge you as foreigners and exiles to abstain from sinful desires, which wage war against your soul. Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God in the day he visits us." And I love that. I wanna highlight the first few words in verse 12. It says, live such good lives. Live such good lives. It's a lot easier said than done. When we're living out our faith by ourselves, it's really easy for the enemy to pluck us away because we're all that's left. If we stray away, then we don't have anybody else to hold us accountable. To where if we have close friends that are like-minded, we can actually live out our faith and become stronger in order to live those good lives that they're talking about. And so for me, I have a few different ones, and I love that each individual one has a story behind it. The first one is Mark. Mark is my brother-in-law. Me and him are both from Georgia. We both married twins. We both have very similar personalities. So this is a guy that I can literally say what's going on or what's going on in my mind or anything. And he's like, I get it. I understand it. Like, we are pretty much the same person. And so it's awesome to have somebody like that I can relate with on that level. This next person is Christian. The stories Christian and I could tell about each other goes way beyond, because we've known each other since we were sophomores in high school. And I'm getting old realizing that's almost 16 years ago. But we've known each other for that long. And so with him, we know each other so well that literally when we may believe a lie the enemy is saying, we can actually speak life into us in the gold and say, hey, remember what God did there. Like, don't forget that. Hold strong into that and continue to walk forward. And so he's able to remind me, and I'm able to remind him of those things because we have that friendship for so long. The next one is our Asheville campus youth pastor, Pastor Tim Gibson. He's a close friend to me because one, we're both in our early 30s and we both have young kids. His son just turned 1, and of course my daughter is now 2. So we've learned from each other on how to balance ministry and being a pastor and having young kids and trying to figure out what that entails, because when you have kids, your life is no longer your own. So it's a whole complex thing you have to figure out. And so we're able to learn from each other, walk through similar paths at the same time together. The next one I have is, if any of you have went on an Orlando mission trip, you may know this guy. His name is Dylan. Dylan White, who used to be at our North Charleston campus, is now an SCU student. I love Dylan because Dylan's a few years younger than me, but yet he's a guy that I can go to and talk about whatever's going on, and there's no judgment, there's no condemnation. He's just a sounding board for me to bounce ideas off, to vent, to be there. And he said, I'm just here to listen. I'm not here to tell you X, Y, and Z to answer, not here to try and tell you how to do things. He said, I'm just here to listen. And we all need those people in our lives to be able to listen to us. And so we need these people in order for us to live what verse 12 said, live such good lives. In order to do that, we need close friends around us that will hold us accountable. Each one of these guys, even though they're different relationships, all of them have the same thing for me, which is, hey, if there's something wrong in my life or you see something off, they have the authority to call it out and say, what's going on? Like, why are you being quick to anger? Or why have you slacked off on your Bible reading, or whatever it may be? They have the authority to call that out of me because they know me well enough. So we have to have those close friends in our lives. And the last thing is mentees. We all need mentees because we're not called to get poured into, have mentors, have close friends to grow in our relationship with Christ, and then just be like, sweet, this is all for me, this is great. God's saying, no, it's not just pouring into you. It's so that out of the overflow, when you're being fed, you can actually then go feed others. For us, as a high school student, a mentee for you may be a middle school student. So say, hey, maybe we have similar interests, or we play the same position in football or whatever it may be, whatever sport, saying, hey, let me take you under your wing and help you grow. This is what I did to get better. Or maybe you're a middle school student, maybe it is an elementary student who you want to help grow in their relationship. We all have people in our lives, and I guarantee if you take a moment to think, like there are people around you in each and every one of these areas for you to take hold of and say, God has something for me in this relationship that I can grow in, or I have something to give. Because it says in Psalm 145, verse 4, one generation commends your works to another. They tell your mighty acts. One generation commends your works to another. They tell your mighty acts. And so for me, the mentees that I have in my life is you guys. You guys are my mentees. I didn't get into ministry to be on a platform, because if you actually really knew me, you'd know that I have a fear of public speaking. So the fact that I'm up here is for His glory alone, not myself. And so I didn't get in it for the money. Because if you know anybody who works at the church, they can blatantly tell you it's not for the money, because the money ain't there. We do it because for you guys, because we want to see you grow in your faith. We want to show you your leaders aren't getting paid to be here, but they want to help you grow in your relationship with Christ. That's why we're here. It's to help you guys, for us to be this for you, to help you guys find this, and then take your next steps here. That's for us as pastors, as leaders, is to help you guys with that. Because there's so many of you in here that spur me on in my faith. You guys help me be better. Seeing how you guys love each other, or get in God's word, or pray, or just worship, excites me of like, man, one of my highlights at camp wasn't anything that the speaker said, but it was watching you guys speak over each other, speak life, pray over each other. It's showing that, man, God is doing incredible things, and it's not stopping with this generation, it's continuing on into the next. And that's because we're doing exactly what verse 4 says, that one generation commends your works to another. They're seeing what we're modeling, and you guys, the younger generation, is seeing what you're modeling. So the question is, what are you modeling? Are you modeling a faith that they want to emulate, or are you modeling a faith that is just kind of doing whatever in the world? So you have to ask yourself, where do I need to grow? So my challenge is, when we go into response time, we have these sheets of paper up on the stage. I challenge you guys, grab one of these and go back to your seat, and I want you to reflect. It has blanks on each area, just like it would for here, for spot for mentor, spots for close friends, and a spot for a mentee. I want you to grab it. Go sit at your seat. Reflect. Say, God, who do I have in these areas? And if you say, hey, I don't have a mentee, or I don't have a mentor, or I don't have really good close friends, that's okay. Because what that is God showing you, hey, this is an area that you can grow. It's saying, hey, you don't have a lot of close friends. That's fine. We can help you grow in that spot. So what are those areas? So come up front, grab one of these as we go into response time, and reflect on this. Because I promise, this is our circle. If one of these pieces is missing, then it's gonna be broken. And so we have to make that circle whole. And so as we go into response, ask yourself these two questions. God, what are you saying to me? And what am I gonna do about it? And let's respond together.